Welcome to the Impact My Life podcast. Our guest today is my friend and student, Amy Doyle, who's a nutrition expert. Few reasons why I wanted to have her on is we know the Impact My Life podcast is all about self-defense for life. So self-defense with your health is probably, one of the first things that you should be thinking about, as well as just giving people practical tips as athletes or people just going through their lives, and also to help our families at the dojo that have busy lives and are juggling kids, work, activities, and how they can simplify, but also improve their nutrition. So welcome, Amy, and thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
I have an introduction that she wrote for me, which I actually learned things from that I'm going to read to everybody just so you can kind of hear what some of her qualifications are. Amy Doyle is a board-certified nutrition specialist and is the owner of Whitestone Wellness, a private practice in Fayetteville, New York. She received her master's degree in applied clinical nutrition from the Northeastern School of Health Sciences in 2014. In addition to her practice, Amy also works as a clinical educator for the nutrition and integrative medicine world. She specializes in helping women balance their hormones in gut health and mental health. Amy believes in empowering individuals towards their best health and vitality by addressing them as a whole person with a patient-centered, personalized approach. She's committed to helping patients understand how targeted nutrition and lifestyle changes can help them get their energy, their health, and their life back. And even more fun, she's the mom of 2 children, 2 dogs, a cat, and 7 chickens,
Yes.
which begs the question. You give me homemade horseradish, but I've never gotten any eggs yet.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're still working on that. They're still little.
Gotcha.
They're not laying yet.
Yeah.
So.
Fun hobby, though.
Yeah.
Yes. Any problems with foxes yet, or have you been okay?
A lot of problems with foxes,
Yeah.
and raccoons, and fisher cats, and
Oh,
neighbor's
fisher
dog.
cats.
So
Gotcha.
yeah, it's a fun adventure.
Yes. So tell me how you even got started in this field. What interested you about it, and how did you get involved in it?
It started when I was going for my bachelor's degree. I got my bachelor's in environmental policy from the SUNY College of Environmental Science and Forestry. So hi to any Stumpies out there.
That's my dad.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, he's a stumpy.
And so I experimented with being a vegetarian. I learned what being a healthy vegetarian is versus a not healthy vegetarian. And I became interested in herbal medicine and all things about the body healing. And as I got older, there were times when I had different illnesses, and I just discovered that really good nutrition and targeted nutrients were the key to help me get well. And I wanted to learn more, and then I wanted to share it with other people and help them.
Awesome. Now, since you began your journey to now, how are some of your perspectives changed?
I used to be leaning all the way one way. I used to be anti-medicine, and I was all about herbal medicine and green medicine and anti-medication, all of that. And as time has gone on, I've really come to understand that there's a place for both, and there should be both. They should coexist. There's a place for allopathic medicine, and then there's a place for nutritional medicine or what we would call functional medicine as well. And both can go a long way to help patients.
Now, I know for me personally, and that I'm not in your space, but I'm in a healthy space, and people are always asking me, nutrition questions, and asking me about the latest fad and what we should be doing and we shouldn't be doing. What are some common misconceptions that you see out there that is healthy advice, but isn't necessarily the best path to take?
Well, we miss the mark when we demonize foods. So when we say carbs are bad or we say fats are bad, that's not entirely true.
Mm-hmm.
Our body needs carbohydrates. Our body needs fats for our brain and for our cells and for our organs, but it's the type of carbohydrates that we eat. It's the type of fat that we eat. So we have those refined sugars and flours that they drive inflammation and they dysregulate our blood sugar. And then we have the complex carbohydrates, which we find in our whole grains and our whole fruits and vegetables. Those are what are anti-inflammatory and provide antioxidants. And those are the kind of carbs that our body desires and thrives on. And then we have those fats that come from processed foods and fast foods, that those are inflammatory. Those drive the chronic health conditions that we see today. But then we have our healthy fats, which are polyunsaturated omega-3 fats like we find in salmon, our monounsaturated fats that we find in avocado. So there's a difference between healthy fats and unhealthy fats, and the same with carbs. So if we just demonize foods, then we're really doing ourselves an injustice.
Mm-hmm. I remember a few years ago, the inflammation, certain types of foods causes inflammation came really big because Tom Brady came out with a nutritional program or a training program. And so they started talking about his diet and what he was biggest on was stretching and flexibility,
Mhm.
and then nutrition that cut down on the inflammation of his body, because every Sunday he's essentially going through a car wreck every
Right.
Sunday. So
Right.
whatever he could do to limit the amount of inflammation in his foods and his body, helped him recover for the next Sunday. So being uneducated in this area, like unlike you, what are some specific, like, these are high inflammation, if you eat a lot of these, it's going to cause inflammation in your body, and then what are some great options of foods that would help either cut it down or limit it?
So anything that is in its natural form, like
Mhm.
whole foods, I always start with patients and I say, let's look at the amount of color that's in your diet.
Mhm.
Are you mainly eating white foods? When I talk,
Colorful plates.
right, colorful plates. Are you eating the rainbow? So how many different colors are on your plate or in your refrigerator, and where are you getting your meats from? So if we look at what is recommended as far as we just say healthy fats, so omega-6 fats, our body needs those, and we have omega-3 fats. Well, the ratio that we should be consuming is omega-6 to omega-3 should be 4-1.
Mhm.
Well, our standard American diet is about 10-1.
Oh, okay.
So it's those high omega-6 fats that are driving inflammation. So we see those in our processed foods because they contain refined seed oils, refined flours. We see those in factory farmed foods.
Mhm.
And we see those in our commercial baked goods, things like that. And our omega-3 fatty acids, we see those in our grass-fed meats, our pasture-raised meats. We see those in healthy eggs. We see those in our salmon and ethically sourced tuna, things like that.
Mhm.
So looking at where you're getting those fats from, our body needs omega-6, like I said, but we're getting way too many from the wrong sources.
So the oversimplification of eat a colorful plate and shop in the outskirts, the outside,
Periphery,
the
yes.
periphery of the grocery store isn't totally
Correct.
wrong.
Yes.
Might be simplifying, but it's not totally bad.
The more ingredients on the label, more likely it's the less healthy it is for you. So.
Gotcha. Before we go into specifics, like about training and martial arts and families, how about supplementation? Because that's become a huge business, is supplements, and it gets quite confusing, and also a little makes me kind of nervous because you never know where they're coming from and what they're
Right.
putting in them.
Right.
So can you talk about maybe what supplements would be good for in general? I mean, we're not going to go specific into, women in their 40s or,
Right.
teenagers, that type of thing. Just in general, what should people be looking for and where they should source them from?
Okay. So I think your first question was, how do I feel about supplements?
No. First
Okay.
question was, well, yeah, I guess.
Okay.
How do you feel about supplements? And then add on, which ones do you think would be necessary for people just in general and where to get them?
Okay. So there's a place for them. When we think about the recommended dietary allowances that we see on all our food labels now, and it says how much of vitamin C you should be getting, things like that. What most people don't understand, and even our medical professionals, is that those recommendations are meant for healthy people.
Mm-hmm.
They're not meant, they're not designed for people that need more of them. So for your average healthy person that has no stress, is at a healthy weight, has no inflammation, no chronic illness, then you're great with those RDAs. However, for the rest of us that are stressed out, maybe we have some inflammation or some chronic conditions, or we're athletes, supplementation may be necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to supplementation, when I talk about nutrition, I tell my patients that nutrition is not just about what you eat. It's your body has to, number one, be able to digest those foods. So that requires the right amount of digestive enzymes. It requires chewing properly. It requires the right amount of stomach acid. We also have to be able to absorb those foods. So that requires a really healthy intestinal lining. We also have to be able to utilize those foods when they get into our bloodstream. Some of the nutrients have to be converted into different forms. We have to get them into our cells. And then we also have to be able to eliminate those foods that our body doesn't want, or we're finished with those nutrients and it's time to get rid of them, or toxins. If we have a compromise in any of those areas, more of the good foods is not just going to be the answer.
Yeah.
We need to have some targeted supplementation, maybe some digestive enzymes. Stress alone, it burns through magnesium, your B complex vitamins, vitamin C. So just as the society and the nature of us being a stressed society and grabbing a lot of the wrong choices of foods, we can't supplement our way out of a bad diet. But as an overall principle, supporting our gut health, sometimes targeted probiotics can be supportive, but I believe strongly in a good quality fish oil, magnesium, B complex vitamins are my
Awesome.
go-tos.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And you're right. The source matters. When you just go and get something over the counter, there's minimum testing that's required by the FDA. So a lot of people say, well, supplements aren't regulated, right? That's not entirely true. They are regulated. They're just not regulated like a drug is regulated.
Yeah.
They're regulated differently. So there's certain manufacturing practices that a company has to follow. They have to do a certain amount of testing, like identity and potency. But once they've checked those boxes, they're good to go. So you want to look for a company that has done all of those things and gone above and beyond. Are they testing their product from source to shelf? Are they having testing for potency and purity? Where are they getting their sources from? That kind of thing. So I tend to use premium grade supplements. There's not a lot of over-the-counter supplements that I recommend.
Gotcha.
So quality is important for sure.
Yeah. Well, the reason why I bring it up is my funniest supplementation story was not really supplement, but that type of product was years ago. One of our instructors was really into lifting weights, and he got a new pre-workout. And he's like, I've never felt better. He goes, I'm lifting so much. I have so much energy. He goes, I'm an animal in the gym. And I'm like, okay. Well, a month later, turns out that the person, he had bought it at GNC, which you'd think, GNC is in all the malls, okay to buy it there. Well, it turns out that it was somebody that had been released from prison for bad supplements and was lacing it with amphetamines. And that's why he was feeling so good, because as he was bench pressing, he was hopped up in amphetamine. So that's always my cautionary tale on, okay, you can't always trust the stores, even though it's a well-known name like a GNC. So, premium companies and also probably being recommended like a professional like you're probably a little bit safer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this next one is a personal one, because anybody that knows me knows that I harp on hydration. So can you talk a little bit about the importance of hydration? Not just for athletes. I think people, associate it with working out, but, for kids, for adults, just going through their daily day, what's the importance of hydration?
Hydration is critically important. I mean, our body is almost 80% water, and it helps us with our sleep. It helps us with our metabolism. We have to regenerate and grow new cells, and there's so many different parts of our body that are growing and regenerating every day. And water is really important for that. Some signs that someone might not be hydrated well enough is, especially in children, we see irritability, and all across the board, fatigue or sluggishness. When you have that dark, stinky urine, that matters too. Headaches. And I've even seen individuals that get heart palpitations if they're not well hydrated. So my general recommendation is half of your body weight in ounces a day as a baseline. But if you're out in the sun, you're sweating, you're physically active, you're going to need more.
Yeah. So. I noticed too, the kids in the winter, the heat in those schools, because they keep it so hot, they all come in completely dried out and completely dehydrated, parched, and so we ironically have more requests for drink breaks in the winter than we do in the summer, which is what I've found over the years. So transitioning to the point of this podcast is just helping people. So what are some recommendations for parents that are super busy, don't want to spend half their Sunday meal prepping for the week, and what are some tips for, because sometimes you're driving, you work in East Syracuse, you live in one of the southern suburbs, and sometimes you're coming back and forth for work and then to bring your son to class, so you're all over the place, so you understand. So what are some tips for families?
Well, my husband works in finance, and one of the things that he says about money is that when it comes to financial success, it's not so much that people plan to fail, is that they fail to plan. And it's the same. I mean, you mentioned meal planning and meal prep. It's the same thing with our nutrition and our health. In order to be successful, we have to take the time to plan out our meals, or at least plan, okay, when's it going to be crazy this week? What night am I going to be running? What do I have? And, you don't have to plan your meals, go grocery shopping and cook all the same day. I mean, I don't know any other mom that's tried to do that. By the end of the day, you get in the door and you're like, I'm just ordering a pizza. I'm exhausted. So space that out.
Well, it's nice to know even somebody like you has those days.
So even just breaking that up throughout the week, meal planning just for a couple of days, not the entire week, getting the entire family involved. I always encourage my clients to batch cook, have some things that you can freeze. And with my immune compromised patients who really didn't know what they could eat, we started by building 5 core meals that they always had ingredients for, that they knew were healthy, that they would be well nourished, that was easy to put together. And then I realized, hey, that kind of works for everybody.
Yeah.
If we all had maybe 5 core meals that we know everybody will eat, that we always have ingredients on hand, even if it's tacos, get your veggies in there, good quality meat, then that's really helpful when you know what you have on hand and you prepare a little in advance, just saying, okay, these are the crazy days. This is because when you don't prepare, that's when you grab those unhealthy things or you're starving and you just have to grab something on the run.
Or like me, I'm on my way home from the dojo and stopping at Wegmans and, buying salmon and a vegetable and preparing it at 9:30 at night. So.
Right. Yeah.
So, take yourself back to, when your kids were little, what are some tips for parents that want to raise children with healthy habits when it comes to nutrition?
Sure. Really, we're so, as a mom, I've always I have to make sure I tell my kids this, I have to make sure I teach them this. And all of that's important. But what's critical is modeling those behaviors, modeling those healthy habits as well. And is in terms of healthy habits or healthy eating, reduce that screen time, man.
Yeah.
It's the screen time. Play together as a family. We all need more joy. We all need more playtime. Get the kids moving out, doing something fun. I used to try to, even if I just wanted the kids to help with housework, I'd crank some music and I'd say, okay, it's 2-song tidy up, and my kids cringe at that.
That's fun, yeah.
They cringe now. They're like, Mom, come on, just tell us to clean our
Guess
room.
what? One of them will pull it out with their kids at some point.
Yeah. So, excuse me. So modeling those behaviors, predictability and consistency are definitely key.
Yeah. In terms of another kind of follow up to that is, I hear especially from little dragon parents, those are the 4 to 6 year olds, picky eaters, or, they have 2 things that they eat. And, obviously the parents shouldn't have allowed that from the start, but they're in the situation now where they have a child that's a super picky eater, only eats 2 or 3 things. Any tips on how they can get to kids to expand their palates a little bit, try new things?
Yeah, and that's really tough. I consistently see that with parents too. And I'll share a little bit of my story. My oldest, they're 7 years apart between my oldest and my youngest. And so my oldest, I was super disciplined. Everything in the house was organic. Everything, all the baby food was made from scratch and everything was homemade. And I limited sugar for a certain period of time. And all of those are great and important.
Yeah.
She's the pickiest eater. She has 8 foods that she will eat.
Yeah.
But my younger one, I was a little more chill with him. And he eats everything.
Yeah.
And he has a diverse palate and he's excited to try things. And I'm not saying that one way was right or one was wrong, but I want to tell those parents, because I know the anxiety that brings when your child is picky and you feel like I just got to get good food into them and they won't try things. I want to tell you that it's okay. Take a breath. Keep introducing those foods. And remember that the anxiety that you bring and frustration that you bring to the table, your kids are going to feel that. And not that you're to blame. I'm not blaming anybody, but just recognize that your attitude towards food, it's going to be transparent and it's going to transfer to them. So it's okay. Take a breath.
Yeah.
And keep modeling the right behavior. Keep introducing those foods. There's 2 tremendous resources that I always share with parents that have picky eaters. One is an author, Ellen Satter, and she wrote a book, Child of Mine, and it's called Feeding with Love and Good Sense. And it's got some great information there, which is just as a parent, how to handle all of that frustration that comes with just trying to get your kids to eat well. And then a more modern web-based support is Jennifer Anderson. She is a dietitian and she has a website and a program called Kids Eat in Color. And she's done phenomenal work in that area in helping parents navigate that world of picky eaters and getting them to try new things, like you said. So those are 2 great resources I always share with parents.
We had a good victory a couple weeks ago where one of the moms came in because with our little dragon class, we'll talk about what your favorite food is. And I tell them, and they're like, well, why do you care? And I'm like, well, because I'm curious about you, but also because if, so-and-so says that he likes broccoli and you're like, that looks weird. I'm not going to eat that. But then the next time your mom prepares it and you're like, oh, he eats it, so I'll try it. And we actually had a mom come in a couple weeks ago and say
Oh,
that I
yeah.
forget what they ate, it might have been cauliflower, which I've prepared every way I prepared. I still don't like it.
Yeah.
But the kid ate cauliflower because one of the other kids did in class. And I was like, all right, that's good. So
Yeah.
we're helping a little bit on the picky end.
Right. Yeah. And, they're still going to be well-functioning adults, even if they don't like cauliflower. So
Yeah.
it's okay.
Yeah. I've tried a million different ways, still not my thing.
Yeah.
So, moving on to like, even before martial arts, you were always active. So, I always see pictures of you doing community runs and
Mhm.
that type of thing. Did you do anything besides, just running for fitness, or did you do like, Pilates or yoga or anything before martial arts?
Always been a big fan of yoga.
Mhm.
I've always strength trained. I was a personal trainer for a short period of time.
Oh, okay, cool. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. See,
Yeah.
learn something
Yep.
new every day.
Yeah.
So what recommendations would you give to parents that are athletes, or, sometimes they don't understand that they are athletes, that
Mhm.
because they're training for a 5K or a 10K or half marathon. They don't like classify themselves as athletes, and a lot of our adults in the studio, because it's not like a team sport, they don't necessarily recognize themselves as an athlete. So what would be some tips you'd give parents as they get older but are still being athletes to just help them get the most out of their day?
Nutrition wise,
Mm-hmm.
the most common things that I see that are problematic for any athlete is underfueling.
Mm-hmm.
They're not eating enough. Sometimes they'll just focus on one macronutrient like protein or lots of carbs, and they're missing out on the benefits of everything.
Yeah.
Or they think that they need to train fasted, to lose weight, and you don't. You
Yeah.
can train when you've been fed. So fueling with protein and carbs before a workout and in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Refueling after a workout, because you need that for
I think
muscle
that's a big area for
repair.
people. I don't think they
Yeah.
think about the recovery and the refueling afterwards. So maybe you
Yeah.
could, what are some things that they should be looking at in that area?
Well, women, especially, the research is different for men and women. We tend to, as we get older, especially, we become less insulin sensitive and we have higher cortisol. So women especially, we need to fuel with at least 15 grams of protein, 30 grams of carbs before a workout, especially an intense workout. And we need to refuel within an hour after working out.
Mm-hmm.
And men can go a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
They should still fuel before a workout, but men can go like 2 hours or more after a workout, but it's still important to refuel. And oftentimes some athletes, maybe not our parents that we're talking about, they rely too much on supplementation.
Mm-hmm.
They rely too much on those protein powders or the,
Yeah.
the muscle milk and things
Yeah.
like that. And we really need good, real food too.
Mm-hmm. So if they're training at the dojo, it's okay to eat after 8, because that's another I don't know if it's a misconception. It might be a good thing, but don't eat after 8 is always the rule. But if they're training until 8, they probably should eat something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you have to look at it in the context of your entire diet. If you are running at 5:30 in the morning, getting up and you're doing everything active, you need to fuel your body. And there's something to be said for eating in like a time restricted feeding in a certain window of time.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're hungry and because you've worked hard, you need to fuel your body.
Yeah.
And
listen to your body.
Yes, listen to your body. Absolutely. Yeah.
What mistakes do you see people make? You mentioned, too many protein bars and muscle milks and that type of thing. Is there any other mistakes you see athletes make besides supplementation and those types of things? Any other like watch outs people should kind of keep their eye out for?
Mainly those things: underfueling, not recovering, focusing on one macronutrient, like just more protein,
Mm-hmm.
and not enough carbohydrates. We need carbohydrates for energy, especially if you're an athlete. Underhydration is happening too.
Yeah. Last question in this area, what are some parallels you see, with the discipline required for good nutrition and, growing a healthy body and, what we do in the martial arts? Because I always try to tie it back to, our dojo in some way, because it is a dojo, podcast. What are some parallels you see in the discipline required?
Well, what I've seen with the discipline, and even just making changes with nutrition or deciding that you're going to get more active and be a martial artist, start martial arts, be at the dojo.
Amy's a black belt, by the way, so she knows.
I am a black belt.
Yep.
That's exciting. is you're never too old.
Yeah.
You're never too old to learn. You're never too old to make changes, to start something new. I mean, in my 40s, I decided I wanted to revisit the martial arts. I dabbled with it in college and when I was younger, and became a mom and business person and got super busy. And then I said, this is for me. I love it. I want to go back. And behold, now I'm 51 and I'm a black belt. So same thing when it comes to nutrition. You're never too old to start eating more fruits and vegetables or make changes or maybe you can't run a 5K right now, but can you walk for 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Can you get on a stationary bike? It really comes down to shift your mindset from thinking that what you can't do to what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes we get in our own way by thinking of all the things that we can't do rather than, okay, what can I do?
Yeah. What would be the first simple step people should take if they've been neglecting this area, they listen to this, they're a little inspired, they're like, okay, I'm going to try this. What would be a good, because, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step,
Right.
So what's that initial step that they should take before we get into sharing your socials and how they can, learn more about you and other people that have influenced you? But what's that first simple step they should take?
You can never go wrong by looking at your diet and seeing where you can add more fruits and vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about juicing. I'm talking about real whole foods. That's always a great place to start is look at your diet, see where you can swap out something that might have been an unhealthy choice before, less soda, more water,
mm-hmm.
less something that's unhealthy and more fruits and vegetables. Walking after your meals, that helps balance your blood sugar, helps with your metabolism. All of those are just great first steps.
Yeah. If people wanted to learn more about you, how do they find you?
They can go to my website. It's whitestonefunctionalnutrition.com or email me at amy@whitestonefunctionalnutrition.com. I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Easy to find is what you're saying.
Easy to find. And I'm at the dojo.
Yes.
So
Yes.
you can find me there.
Yes. Anything I'm missing? Because this is your area. This is your wheelhouse. Is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't ask that you think people should know?
Sometimes people will ask me, you had said, what are a couple wins, like a couple places to start. I work with men, women, and children, but the majority of my practice is women.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the questions that I ask them is, where's your joy? Where are you getting joy in your life? What are you doing for yourself? And women have the highest rates of autoimmune disease and cardiovascular disease, and we're stressed and we're trying to do it all.
Cardiovascular is the number one killer.
It is, and heart disease,
mm-hmm.
and it's silent for women. And so I ask them, I say, what are you doing for yourself? And I either get blank stares or they start to cry
mm-hmm.
because they're putting themselves at the bottom of the list. So the first step I often take with some women, in addition to making changes to their diet, is carving out that time that's just for you.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing something for somebody else that makes you feel good, but that's just for you, that brings you joy, that allows you to rest, that helps you reset, because that changes your perspective. And it helps you realize, hey, I can do this. What else can I do?
Mm-hmm.
And make more healthy changes. So
seems like a lot of women do it very early in the morning too.
Yes.
Before everybody's up, which, is amazing because they start the day with, a significant accomplishment. So even if nothing else goes right the rest of the day, at least they have that to hang their hat on at the end of the day that, I had that victory in the morning. But me personally, I am not wired to work out at 5 a.m, but I give them all the credit for it.
Yeah. Well, we know how much we're going to be needed for the day,
mm-hmm.
for the rest of the day. And my husband will say, why do you get up so early?
Yeah.
It's like, well, I want to be nice when everybody gets up. So I need that time.
Yeah.
So.
Carve it out.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming in.
Yeah,
I appreciate it so much. And we already went through your socials. So we'll just say thanks for coming in. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yep.